Okay guys, so we're going to dig a little bit deeper into blueprinting and programming. So we did the car flip thing and we learned how to add to the car's existing blueprint, how to open up the vehicle blueprint here and actually go into the event graph and modify, edit, and add things, teach it new things to do in its blueprint, in its brain, right? So now we're going to actually learn how to create our own blueprints, and we're going to do that by creating a teleporter. So first, let me kind of give you an idea of what we're going to make. So I've got a trigger box set up right here in this gap so that whenever my car goes through this trigger box, it's actually going to teleport me right over here at our target location. So let's see that in action real quick. Here's the gap right here between these two mountains. So when I drive, I should end up over here. And I do. Awesome. So that's what we're going to make. Let's see real quick what that looks like in Blueprint. It's pretty simple, a little more complex than our car flip, but still relatively simple. So let's make that. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete out these real quick. You won't have to do this, obviously, but I'm going to delete out mine. And we are going to create a new blueprint. So to do that, we're going to come down here to our content browser on the bottom. Yours might be over a little more. And we're going to hit the big green Add New button. And we get this menu that comes up with all these things that we can create. And the only one we're interested in, the one we're going to be interested in 99% of the time, is this top one right here called Blueprint Class. So we're going to click Blueprint Class. And within that, there's another menu of several different kinds of blueprint classes to create. We're going to create an actor. You'll see here an actor is an object that can be placed or spawned in the world. It's a one of the most simple basic forms of adding a new object to the game. So we're going to create an actor. And you'll see right here in our content browser, it's created our new actor and it's waiting on me to type in a name. So I called mine BP Teleport Box, and I already have that created, so I'm just going to call it BP Teleport Box 2. BP stands for blueprint, and that's just a thing I do where I put BP in front of my blueprints to denote that it's a blueprint. You can call it whatever you want, teleporter, teleport box, teleport blueprint, anything like that. And there it is, we've created it. So we can actually drag this out into the world, and you'll see that nothing happens. There's nothing there, right? It's added over here in our world outliner, and we have this little circle thing in the world, but it's not actually, that circle is not actually visible in the world. That's just a marker showing us where it is. So there's nothing there. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that out because it is nothing. It is an empty blueprint. When I double click on it, we've got a 100% empty blueprint. Again, that circle is just a sphere showing us the center. There's not actually a circle as part of that. If I go to my event graph here, we've got nothing here, just some starter nodes, but nothing that actually does anything. So the first thing we want to do is create a trigger box component. So we're going to come over here to add components, and we're just going to click it, and we're going to search for trigger box. I'm sorry, box trigger. Box collision. I'm sorry, box collision. So we've got a box collision. You can just type box, and it'll be the first thing that comes up, and we're going to add that. And we actually don't need to do anything to that. There it is. It's there. Now when we drag one of these out into the world, we can just drag it straight from our content browser. You'll see that it's got the little box. Now that box is going to be the region that we enter with our car that's going to trigger the teleport. So we are going to tell this, when our car enters this box, teleport us. And it really is that simple. So we're going to come over here to our event graph. And so because we're triggering on an overlap, when our car overlaps that box, we actually already have the node created right here for us. We can actually go ahead and delete these other two, event begin play and event tick. They can be deleted. And event actor begin overlap. So when an actor begins overlapping this box, do stuff, right? So the first thing that we want to do is we want to check and make sure that the object that is overlapping us is in fact our vehicle. So that's where we get into what are called cast nodes. And I'm not going to talk a lot about cast nodes. You'll use them a few times. Just kind of follow my steps on this, and you'll kind of figure it out as we go here. So just drag off of that, and we are going to cast to. And what do we want to cast to? We want to cast to our vehicle blueprint. And there it is right there, cast to vehicle blueprint. Okay. And all this is doing is checking, is the object that we're overlapping the vehicle blueprint? If it is, do the things off of here. If it's not, if the cast fails, do the things off of here. So, and we need to do one more thing here. It's asking which object. Well, it's going to be the object that we collided with. So the object that our trigger box collides with, which in our case should be the car, plug it into object. Is it a vehicle blueprint? Then do the following. Okay. And then what we want to do is we want to teleport our car. So fortunately, there's a lot of different ways to do that, but fortunately there is a very handy node already made, and it's called teleport. And it does exactly what you would think. It's going to teleport the target to this location with this rotation. Okay. Now, which target? Remember last time we used target on our car flip and we left it blank. We left it on self. Well, this time we are not actually going to leave it on self because this is, remember, we are within the event graph of our teleporter box. So we don't want to teleport the teleporter. We want to teleport the vehicle. Okay. So back here on our cast node, we have as vehicle blueprint. So this is just returning our vehicle. We can plug that into the target. So now we're saying overall, when an actor begins overlapping the box, cast to vehicle blueprint, make sure that the object, the other actor that overlaps it, is a vehicle blueprint. If it is, teleport it. What are we going to teleport? The vehicle blueprint to this destination and to this rotation. Great. Now, we could just type in the destination, the location that we wanted. We could actually come in here and we could say, okay, when it crosses this box, we want it to go to the location of this circle, which is at this value. We could copy all those values in and manually, where are we at? Manually type them in right here, okay? But I'm not going to do all that. We're going to do something a little more sophisticated, okay? So this is where we get introduced to variables, okay? And I'm going to show you how to create a variable and kind of explain to you what it is. So first, to create a variable, we need to come right here to the word variables, and we're going to hit plus variable, and we've created a new variable. And this variable is going to be our target location, okay? This is the location that we want to send our car to. Okay, and we need to come up here. This is our variable's properties. We've got the name of it that we just edited in, target location, and the variable type. We're going to change that. We need this to be a vector. Now you notice that vector is yellow. It has a yellow tab. Okay, we're going to select that. And you'll notice that our location is also a yellow pin. That means that they're compatible. We can take this and plug it in right there. Okay. So what is a variable and why are we using it? A variable is a piece of data that we store in our game that we can then use to, and we can manipulate it in a number of different ways. It's sort of like variables in algebra. Variables in programming are data that can be any of a number of things depending on different circumstances. So if I were just to type in the destination location right here, we wouldn't be able to make any changes to that location without having to come back here every time and type all this out. Using a variable right here with target location, we can not only have easier access to it, but we can also combine this data with other data, which we'll need to do in just a bit. So you'll be using variables a lot more in this course, and it'll all come together for you after a while. So let's come back here to our variable properties. And we're going to do a couple of things. First, we're going to check instance editable. Okay? And before I tell you what that does, let me tell you about what an instance is. So I'm going to go back here to my map. So we've created this blueprint for our teleporter, and I've got one out here in the world. But we can actually drag several copies of this blueprint. Oh, I deleted it. Several copies of this blueprint out into the world. Okay. And those copies are called instances. These are 3 instances of the same blueprint. Okay, they contain all the same programming, all the same components, and all the same information. If I were to hit edit and look at the blueprints on any of these, it would all take me right here to this same blueprint. Okay, so by making our target location variable instance editable, I've done 2 things. Number one, I can click these, and you'll see here. It actually, I'm sorry, let me go back here. Also hit compile before you do this. Go back to your blueprint and hit compile. And you'll see that when I click these, right down here, I've now added target location as one of my parameters. I've got these input fields for each one of these. And I can actually type in different values. So if I wanted this one to go to 500, 200, 100, I can do that. And when I click the other ones, that change isn't made. It's only stored in this instance of the blueprint. So only this teleporter will take me there. So now all three of my teleporters can actually take me to different locations, all because I set that as instance editable. So it can be edited separately for each instance or each copy of the blueprint. Now, and we could get away with that. We could actually come in here and type in the location, find out the location of where we wanted to teleport, and type it in and be done. But that's a little clunky. Let's do something a little bit fancier. Okay, so we're going to come back here to our blueprint. We're going to make sure that we've got our target location variable checked over here, or clicked rather. And we'll come back over here to our variable properties, and we're going to click Show 3D Widget. Now what that does, if I compile and go back to my map, you'll see that I've actually got a little diamond that's created, and it probably won't be there. It'll probably be right in the middle of your blueprint, and you'll kind of have to get in here and click it. Click the little blue diamond, and you can actually move this diamond up. And now, once we're done with our programming, this diamond will actually be the location that we teleport to. So when I enter into this teleporter, this diamond is where it's actually going to take us. And that's much easier than typing out numbers. You'll just place this diamond in the location in the world that you want to be teleported to, and it'll just work. But before we do that, there's a couple of things that we need to do to our programming, okay? And a couple of things that you need to understand first. We need to talk about world space and local space. So you've learned about the coordinate system in Unreal, the X, Y, and Z axis, where X and Z are left and right and front and back, and Z is up and down. Okay, so if you click the objects and you actually look here, you can see their X, Y, and Z values. And these are in world space. So in world space, 0, 0, 0 is the absolute middle of the map. So somewhere around here is going to be our 0, 0, 0 point. Let me actually kind of explain this with sort of a different example. So this is a very rough sketch of the classroom that, at the time of this video, this is what our classroom looks like. So in world space, 0, 0, 0 would be the absolute center of the room, right there. That's 0, 0, 0. Your coordinates in world space would be in relation to where you're sitting in the room. So if you're sitting over here, and let's say that's, use green here. Let's say you're sitting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 feet in front of the center of the room, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 feet one way or the other to the right of the center of the room, then your coordinates are now going to be 5, 4, 0. And those are your coordinates in world space. Okay, local space is a little different. It's much the same idea, but instead of being your relation to the center of the room, it's object's location in relation to you. So now you are 0, 0, 0, and your neighbor sitting over here might be in local space, would be 1, 2, 4 feet away from you. Okay, to the right, there's 0 in front or behind you, and they're on the same z-axis, so they would be 0, 4, 0. And if that didn't make a lot of sense, don't worry about it. We'll see it in action in just a second, and we'll be using that a little bit more again as the course goes on. So world space is an object's location in relation to the center of the world. So if I were to click this little cylinder right here, let's zoom in just a little bit. Okay. In relation to the center of our world, this cylinder is at x value negative 2100, so it's minus 2100 away in the x-axis, so this direction. It's 4,540 away on the y-axis, and it's negative 230 on the z, so it's just below the center. So the center's really up here somewhere. And this is important to know because the 3D widget that we have here on our, let's come back here to our teleporter. The 3D widget that we've created here, it's giving this value, and you'll see that when I move this around, this value, look right here, when I move this around, this value actually changes. This is its location in local space, so it's how far away it is from here. It's how far away it is from the center of this teleporter. Well, we need to convert that to world space because our teleport is actually going to teleport us in world space, but the 3D widget, our target location variable, is in local space. So if we were to just plug our target location in, first let me show you how to drag out variables into the thing. You'll get, if you just drag your variable out and let go, you get either get target location or set target location. We want to get it. And we can just plug this in here, but that's actually not going to take us where we want to go. We need to add this in to our actor's location. So we're going to just right click just below this and we're going to get actor location. Okay, and that's going to give us this node. We're going to get the location of an actor. Which actor? Self. We want to get the location of our teleporter. We want to pull that out. We want to actually just hit the plus sign. You can get vector plus vector, or you can just search for that up here, but I usually just hit the plus sign. That should give it to you. Vector plus vector, and we're going to actually add in the target location with our get actor location, and we're going to plug that in, and that will take us to the right spot every time. So now let's come out here. Let me delete these other two instances. And let's put this, we're just going to come over here and put it right in front of our car so we're 100% sure that we hit it every time. Let me just position this right in front of our car, just right there. And let's move our 3D widget somewhere that we'll recognize. And we'll just move it way over here, kind of on these little hills over here. So now when we drive forward just a little bit, we'll hit that teleporter, and boom, it's taking us over here where we set our 3D widget. Pretty cool. Okay, so we need to do one more thing. We need to do another variable for our rotation. And let me show you why we need to create that. We're going to come back here, and let's say I want this teleporter right here to take us to a different section of the track, somewhere over here, okay? And we want it to, when we come in a teleporter, we want to be facing this way. So when we come in a teleporter, we want to be facing the, let me put some kind of object out here. Let me find just a cone. That's perfect. Okay, we want to be facing this cone. Make it a little bigger so we can see it. Perfect. Okay. And we want to hit the teleporter right there, and we want to be facing the cone. When I drive through this teleporter, by default, it's resetting us to 0, 0, 0. We're not facing the right way. We got to turn around. There's our cone. So what we can do is create a new variable. So go back to our blueprint, go to variables here, hit plus variable, and we're going to call this target rotation. And we're going to change the variable type from vector. We're going to change it to a rotator. And you'll see again, rotator is kind of this purple, and so is the pin. That means that that's the kind of variable it accepts. Okay, and we can just drag this out. We're going to hit get target rotation, plug it in. We're going to compile it. And then we also need to make this instance editable. So now we can click this and we can actually see, I need to hit compile. Always hit compile if you can't see it. And we can see our target rotation right here. And I want it to actually turn us 180 degrees on the z-axis. And you'll have to play with that to get the right rotation. So now when I do that, boom, it puts us facing almost the right way. I'd have to tweak that to get it facing the exact way. But there we go. Okay, so the last thing that we need to do, we're almost done. We got to do one more thing. You may want your teleport to fill a specific size. So like earlier I had my teleporter taking up this whole gap. Let me move my rotator or my target location back over here next to it. And the easiest way would be to just set this back to 0, 0, 0. And that'll put it right on top of our box. Okay. We may want to fill this area up here. And normally you would just use the scale option, right? You would put it in place, and then we could get our scale out and drag it out. But do you see something happening there? Maybe you don't see it, but our 3D widget is actually scaling with our box. Now, I am 99% sure that that is a bug in Unreal Engine. I don't think that's something that's supposed to happen. It doesn't make any sense. There's no reason to want to scale that. So this is a bug, and we're going to just do a quick fix to get around that because we don't want that to happen. That makes it very hard to tell where your locator is going to be, where your target location is going to be using that. So let's just undo that till it's normal again. There we go. That's fine. Okay, so we're going to do something using a construction script. So go back to your teleport blueprint. Okay, and we've got another tab here in between our viewport and event graph. We've got our construction script. Okay, construction script is similar to our event graph here in that it can hold programming nodes just like the event graph, but unlike the event graph, which only triggers things when we hit play. Only when we hit play does anything in the event graph actually start happening. The construction script actually triggers things in the editor. So it actually makes changes to the way that we work. We're not really ready to talk about construction scripts just yet. I'm only doing this so that it makes our other programming, it kind of gets around that weird bug that happens. So I would recommend that before you get into doing this, you double check and make sure that your version is doing this. If you're on a version newer than 4.20, which is the latest version at the time of this video, but it may have been fixed for those of you in the future. So I would double check, make sure that scaling your blueprint does do this. And if it doesn't, there's no need to do this step. But if it does, then we're going to do something real quick. So I'm not really going to explain what I'm doing. We're just going to do it together, okay? And this is just going to show you how to fix that. So what we're going to do in our construction script, what we want to do is tell the game when we scale, only scale the box. Not tell the game, tell the editor. When we scale, only scale the box. Don't scale this diamond. So what we're going to do is come in here to our component list in our construction script, drag it out. Drag the box out. There we go. We have an instance of a reference to the box component. We're going to drag off of that. And again, I'm just going through this fast so that we do it. Don't really need to know exactly what we're doing here. And we're going to set scale. And we have set relative scale 3D. None of the others. We just need set relative scale 3D. There we go. And we're going to plug it in. Okay. We need to create a new variable. So come over here to variables, hit plus variable. And we're going to call this box scale. And I spelled that wrong. We are going to call this box scale. It's already a vector. That's fine. Let's make it instance editable. And let's just bring it out. And we can get box scale. Another little quick tip for you. You can actually drag things straight to pins. Use this little check mark. When I let go, it automatically connects it. Just a little quick tip for you there. And now, when we go back into our map, instead of grabbing and moving this, which it will let us do, but it's not going to do it quite right, we can actually, let me reset this back to 1. We can actually come down here to box scale and just scale it this way. We can actually put our mouse over these little arrows, and we want to scale it along the x-axis, and you'll see that our box is growing and our widget is not. So now I can actually set this up to fill up this whole area. There we go. Let me move it forward some. Let me grab my 3D widget, and we'll just move it over here somewhere. Okay, and let's test it out. And there it is. It did it. Now my rotation wasn't quite right. I kind of skidded into it pretty well. I would need to actually come in here and... It's kind of hard to click this sometimes. I actually need to come in here and adjust my rotation on the Z-axis there. But that works pretty well, I think. Let's try it now that I've adjusted my rotation. Awesome. So I set it a little high, but it works as intended. Okay, and there's one more thing that I forgot to do that we really need to do. Let's go back into our teleporter box construction script here. Let's click our box scale variable, and let's go over here to default value and set that to 111. What I had accidentally done and forgot to fix was setting the default value. It was set at 000. So it was basically spawning new instances of our teleporter box with no scale, meaning it had no width, height, or depth. So let's set it to 111 so that when we bring in new ones, we always have something there to work with, which we do now. So anyway, we're all done with that. Now you can actually bring in any number of your teleporters, and you can give them all different locations by moving the 3D widget. You can give them different scales by adjusting the box scale down here. And we can set different target rotations on each one of these. So these can all be completely different teleporters with completely different parameters for our target location, rotation, and the scale of the box using all the variables that you created. So there was a lot of information that we just learned in all of that, and I don't expect you to remember every detail of that. This was really just designed to get you familiar with variables and get you familiar with world space and local space, because you'll be dealing with that a little bit, and we'll be dealing with variables a lot in the future.